Hello, I'm Anthony from imaging.anthonyantonio.com. Today I've got a question from James Squires and he asks, I have a Nikon D7100 and I want to get into wedding photography. I have a limited budget. Do I need to stretch to full frame or could I get away with another 7100/7200? Also, do you have any suggestion on lenses? Well, James, indeed, without a shadow of a doubt, you can use a 71-7200 for weddings. The image quality is amazing. It exceeds the quality of professional cameras of just a few years ago. And prior to the D3, the Nikon professional cameras were themselves crop frame. As I've discussed in other videos, the difference is negligible. That's another matter. Certainly they are fantastic cameras. They both have the 7100 and the 7200, which are basically the same camera, have the most important factor that is needed for wedding or event photography: 2 SD cards. That is paramount. It doesn't matter how good your images are, if you've only got one SD card, one memory card, and the files are corrupt, they've gone. So both those cameras, they take 2 SD cards, but obviously you need to bear in mind to make sure they have the cards set to mirror the images, not for the second card to be the overflow, because obviously if slot 1 corrupts, you want the images mirrored in slot 2. If it's an overflow, then the images only start to be written to the second card when the first one is full, so it defeats the purpose. As far as full frame goes, well, the only good value full frame camera at the moment, if you're on a budget or a fantastic full frame camera, is the D700. It's still really one of the best cameras for weddings, for events. The 12 megapixel workflow is fantastic and it's more than enough. However, unfortunately, the D700 only has one memory card slot. I would never, ever use a camera with one memory card for a wedding or an important event, so I would rule that out immediately. In fact, I would go for the D300S over the D700 for that reason, because the D300S, it is a professional build camera, albeit crop centered, which is fine, but it has 2 memory card slots. So depending what you want, but if you've already got the 7100, I would go for the another 71 or 7200, because they have identical control layouts, because in that sort of situation you need to be able to put one camera down, pick up another one, and not start thinking, how do I change this or how do I change that? As I said, camera last consideration. Always the principle is light, creativity, lens, camera body. Camera comes last. As far as lenses goes, one lens that really stands out for fantastic quality, fantastic value, and the most bang for your buck is the Sigma 17-50 f2.8. It is a very good lens. It's very sharp. It's very well built for what it is, but you can get it for around £200 brand new. It has optical stabilization, about 2 stops, which can make a big difference. It's got everything that you need. It's very good. If you wish to go that extra mile, then you could look at a second-hand Nikon 17-55 f2.8. Now that's the actual dedicated pro crop sensor lens. Obviously professionals were using that on the earlier D2, D2AX, because they were crop censored. Very good. The image quality is marginally better. It's even better than the Sigma. In the real world, you probably wouldn't notice a difference, but you would, you can look for differences if you're going to pixel peep, but not that it matters in the real world. It doesn't have optical image stabilization. It's a more expensive lens. It really is a heavy tank. So it depends what appeals to you more. Obviously, if you're looking for retaining the Nikon mark, also for image purposes, to look the part, of course. If it's just for image quality, you're splitting hairs between that and the Sigma, really, in real world for images. Myself, on the second lens for the second body, if you prefer a sort of a more lightweight setup, I think about either an 85mm f1.8 or even a 105 f2.8 for sort of portraits, candids from a bit of a distance. But my personal preference for weddings where you don't need the VR as much, it's not fast moving, would be the older Nikon D7100 f2.8. That's not VR lens, it's the older one, although I'm not sure if it's still available new, but if it isn't now, it has been until recently. It is a tank. It will go on forever. It will outlive the later, more plasticky VR versions. And the image quality is better than the newer ones. Saturation is better, micro contrast is better. It is a very, very good lens. Now, on a DX body, that gives an effective field of view of 120 to 300. That's quite a lot for it, quite a long lens for indoors. However, but in a church, for capturing the odd candid from a distance, it's very good. And outdoors, as people leaving the church or at the events, you can capture people from a distance without them knowing and get some fantastic photographs. It's a very, very good lens, and they're available online for very reasonable money, and they hold their money. If you get a good one at the right price and you look after it, you could keep it for years. And if you don't make a profit, you'll definitely get your money back. I think that's about it, really. You don't need to be too excessive. The most important element with anything like a wedding and event is backup, extra body, extra lenses, extra batteries, extra flash guns. That is what really, really matters, because as long as you've got reasonably good equipment, which all of the Nikon DSLRs can produce images that are more than adequate for professional wedding photography, it is down to you to capture those images, to be creative enough to get those images in the first place, but most importantly of all is to actually ensure that those images are transferred safely to your PC and then to the client. Don't forget to look up on my website, imaging.antonyantonio.com. Goodbye.